Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video on the channel. Thank you for being here today. So basically, I weren't planning to make a video today, but say something cropped up on Facebook, and then say the group chat started going mad, and I thought I've got to make another video about this. And it's about like what like say the other videos we've made recently about other railway stations. But this week, this video is going to be more about Severn Valley Railway and their recent decision. I do want to sort of already put the statement out. Don't actually say take it out on the railway station, and don't take it out on the committee of the railway station. It isn't their decision from what I can see online, and I feel like it is just don't send any hate their way, and make sure that what you're sending to them is actually constructive. At the end of the day, they did say in their statement that they will be reviewing this at the end of the year, or at the end of, after this event, and we don't want to be giving off the wrong impression. So, say if you do actually say give out your opinion, make sure it comes from actual logic and actual and don't send any hate their way. Thank you. And that's also the process of this video. We're not here to actually send any hate their way. We're just sitting there to get to sort of give our opinion out there, and hopefully, for me as someone who's been doing British reenactment for the last 5 to 6 years, that's basically I feel like I can talk on behalf of the reenacting community and on behalf of certain groups of that community on the decision that's been made. So, what's the decision that's been made? So basically, the 1940s. Sorry, let me check my notes. The step back in time, 1940s had put out a post that basically saying that they didn't want to do this, but a higher power above them, which is the railway, not the railway trust, the railway society, has basically gone out their way to say that they don't want certain portrayals at their show this year. So basically, they just want home front and allied portrayals, and anything else is not welcome. We don't want any promenaders or anything like that. And I disagree with that completely. And I think a lot of the railway stations are going down this road at the minute of sort of alienating not only the reenactors but the public as well. And also, say that they're just being a bit discriminatory when it comes to what they actually want to put on their show. So, according to their statements, they're saying it's not something that they were forced into actually posting this out online, but basically they say they didn't want to actually sort of do this, but they've been forced to do it. And I just feel like this is counterproductive and just anti-history altogether, to be completely honest. It's anti-education, anti-history, and I don't see what we get out of this. So that's what we officially know online at the minute, and some of the comments that we're seeing online. And why does this matter? And why does this matter to me as a reenactor, as a British reenactor for 5 to 6 years? It matters to me because I know how much time and effort that is put into the hobby as a reenactor. Reenactors spend a considerable amount of time not only doing research, but say dedicating their weekends to turn up to events and to talk to the public about what they do, what they represent, and to make the show money. And at the end of the day, I said this before in the GCR video, we get a good time because we get to show off our stuff and talk to the public about history, meet like-minded individuals, and the public are happy because they've been entertained and they've enjoyed the weekend. And then the event, in this sense, the railway station is happy because they've made a lot of money. It's everybody is happy. Now, if you start and say disrupting that, then you start running this thing that a lot of railway stations are finding at the minute. You start to lose money and support from the public and support from the actors. And without those two things, you ain't got a show. You don't make money. At the end of the day, I think people say miss the mark when they see say German reenactors and stuff like that. Even though that they wear the uniform and they portray a certain group or ideology, wherever that might be. There's this conception that basically when people are wearing that type of stuff, that it makes them what they are, and it doesn't. A lot of this comes from, say, a love of history. It comes from, say, it comes from multiple things. Maybe say heritage. We don't know. I think that's a question you've got to ask the individual why they do these types of things. Say it's about educating the public and educating and say meeting like-minded individuals. It's not there to glorify, say, violence or war. It is there to educate, say, especially the youth. The youth don't get taught this no more in schools, or very little about this in schools. So this is the only way you can actually get a physical, hands-on sort. Instead of just looking at a textbook or potentially watching a documentary, you get a physical representation of actually, say, the actual what they look like, how things were, how heavy things are, the smells, everything. And especially for people like myself who have got autism, it's a massive sort of like boost when you can actually physically go there and feel like, say, the wool, the smell of the fire, say all these stuff, how big certain vehicles are. It's a massive learning experience. And for people like myself, say with autism, it's just a massive sort of, you don't really get that sort of experience from a textbook. I don't really. So to see it in real life is a huge it's a huge eye opener. Sorry. So why do German impressions exist, and why do people do German impressions? Well, you can ask this about any sort of impression, whether it be British, Commonwealth, American, Japanese, Italian, and even Germans. It's not to glorify or anything like that, say, or any type of violence or anything like that. It is there purely for education, and to tell history, you've got to tell history in its full context. You can't start removing certain aspects of history because it might offend certain individuals. Also, say at the end of the day, it's just 2 days every year that get slightly upended. So if certain individuals don't like that, then there are other things they could be doing for that weekend. There's certain, like say, there's certain singers. I won't go to certain like singers, say concerts and stuff like that, or watch certain movies because I don't like them. At the end of the day, I'm not the individual that you should be catering for. You should be catering for the actual people that are willing to sit down and pay for to pay for the tickets. You can't accurately explain or show off history with moving certain aspects because of these reasons, of because they say people don't like them. I just feel it's really counterproductive to actually the teaching and to the educational side. You can't accurately explain and put forward history without its full context. And I feel like, say, if you start removing certain aspects because of certain reasons, you can't physically get through the full story and the full educational value to individuals if certain aspects are being removed. So the people behind the uniform, so say the Germans we're going to be talking about here, the overwhelming majority of individuals that I've met that do German, that I've actually spoke to and I've actually become friends with over the years, are individuals that say that they're current or ex-serving soldiers. They are teachers. They say that they're engineers. They do things in their life, and all of them are decent individuals that I've met. And I feel personally when I see a group of, even though say I do British, when I see a group of my fellow reenactors being mistreated, it kind of frustrates me because I know that the amount of time and effort that goes into this type of impression and into the hobby, and for a certain individuals or certain groups to come in and go, we don't want that no more, bye bye. It's to me, it's sort of disheartening that we're going down this road of, because I don't like it, I don't want to see it. So end of story. Even that there are people that are willing to pay for tickets that are comfortable with seeing that type of stuff and are willing to learn that type of history. I think there's a massive problem with people distinguishing, say, the uniform from the actual, say, from the individual in the uniform to the actual sort of ideology of the thing that they're trying to portray. And I think people are mixing up saying with history and education. So there is a massive difference between those types of things. I think people don't quite see the distinction between the two. At the end of the day, as well, it's as reenactors, we are in big community, and even though we all are separate groups, we do talk to each other. And I personally believe that when we start seeing an injustice between certain faction of a groups being discriminated against for what they do, the next thing I sort of sit there and goes, well, where's the line going to be drawn here? Is that the line drawn there? One thing I love about the hobby is, even though the reenacting hobby is a huge hobby, we all do talk to each other, and we are a close community. So what goes on, we do talk to each other, and I feel personally that when we see a group of our reenacting friends getting discriminated against from turning up to events and doing what they're displaying what they're doing, the thing that sort of goes through my mind is it's counterproductive, because when we start seeing injustices against our fellow reenactors will vote through their feet, and they say, we come to your shows out of our time, we don't get paid for all this, to display our kit, to talk to the public, and to have a fun time with like-minded individuals. And the majority of people I find in the hobby do tend to be sort of somewhere on the spectrum, whether it be, say, autism, ADHD, etc., etc. And I feel like it's a massive missed opportunity, because it, as well as, say, when you start discriminating certain groups or certain factions of groups, people will vote with their feet, and they will go elsewhere. And if people start going elsewhere, is it one thing I was saying to a couple of weeks ago was, when I first started the hobby 5 or 6 years ago, there was literally only about like 1 or 2 events every month. And now there's like 3 or 4 events every weekend up and down the country. And the other thing I said before is, if people aren't going to be catered for, and that's not just the reenactors, but it's also the public. If the public are turning up and they're not seeing what is being advertised, if you're turning up and you're saying, well, 1940s World War II weekend, and you're missing large portions of that sort of impression, it leaves a bad impression, and they will go elsewhere. And if you can't or don't cater to that sort of that side, they will go elsewhere. There will be other places that will sort of set up that sort of impression, and people will vote for their feet and will go elsewhere. And at the end of the day, it sort of affects, say, the people I feel like they've made this decision. It don't affect them. It affects the people at the lower end. It affects the lower earners of the organisation and stuff. And I do believe this is why a lot of the stations and a lot of the railways in the country at the minute are having a real hard time, because they're sacrificing that goodwill and that sort of friendship and that sort of connection that they've had with the reenactors for years and years, and they're severing it to try and make a group of people happy that are a small minority of individuals that are very loud. And you're willing to sacrifice all that, and I don't see really why we're doing that. I don't understand why that's sort of a good move. At the end of the day, history shouldn't be edited. Let's say occupation happened, resistance happened, invasion happened, the Holocaust happened. I believe if we start removing certain aspects of education, especially to the youth that do enjoy this type of stuff and say they do thirst for knowledge, I believe it's a massive discredit to say to them as well. When you're only half telling a story, kids can't fully grasp the actual extent of the sacrifice that was made by our ancestors, or our great grandparents, and that goes on both sides. At the end of the day, most of the people that died were young. I think the average age was like 23 or something like that. It's a massive loss of life of the youth. And I believe with certain things that are going on in the world at the minute, there's no greater time to actually educate the horrors of war to people and actually put that out there. At the end of the day, context is everything. And I believe when we start to remove certain bits of context, it it becomes very difficult to put together a full picture of a situation. When people come up and ask, say, they want to be educated, they ask questions, they ask, say, certain things about, say, what you do and what you portray. A lot of people don't actually understand just, say, the extent of just what actually happened, and I think it's very difficult for individuals to comprehend just actually how big the Second World War was and how impactful it was on people's lives. If we stop educating people and we stop history, we're doomed to repeat it. And I think the current, say, the last, say, 4 years, say, in the world, kind of sort of shows that we're already going down that path. And I think we say there's no greater time than now to actually start educating people on actually just sort of going and say knowing the actual sacrifice that will be paid if inevitably things are to go a bit more south than they already are in the world. I'm one of these people where you don't want to give these certain individuals an inch. And I believe if you start giving these people an inch, you said, where's that line inevitably going to be drawn? If one comment I've seen on the post that was posted on Facebook is someone said that if someone from Germany come over and seen British uniform and they made a complaint, does that mean British reenactors are then banned? I'm just very concerned that for me, will we get to a time where that's banned as well? What about Vikings, Romans, these types of, say, Napoleon? One of these, if someone takes a dislike, and no offense, but these say two of those groups, say especially Vikings and Romans, were horrible times to live through. I don't think I can't even start to talk about what they did into this country and stuff like that, and what they did to the individuals back in the day. Because if I start saying that on say on say Facebook and YouTube, I would say I'll get a warning. I'll get in trouble again. And I feel like when we start going down this path of say of just like, well, that offends me. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see that. Well, then you're not the targeted audience of what this is, and say I don't see how this is counterproductive to the conversation we're having and to the educational matters. In my opinion, personally, I do believe this massively sort of there's a massive misunderstanding of responsible World War II reenactment groups and reenactors that are there to say to do education. History isn't there to glorify these types of things. That say that they are there to educate people. They're there for people to understand. It's what people do. If anybody understood what it feels like standing in like 30-degree heat in wool kit, it's like people don't do that out of the choice of fun. They do that out of, say, a love of history. I believe we should continue teaching history honestly and stop trying to remove certain aspects that we're uncomfortable with. At the end of the day, to the Railway Society, which I've heard them crop up a few times with the railway events. I believe they're saying what you should start doing is start actually talking to the reenactors and the people that actually do know the history a lot more better than say the average say person online and members of the public. Start asking them, going up to them and actually asking them, why do you do what you do? Why have you got an interest in this? What's that funny helmet for? What is that? Is that cup real? Is that fire real? Just go and ask these people some questions and actually start to understand why they do this type of stuff. At the end of the day, these people are volunteers and they should be treated with respect. And they give up their free time to educate and to make you money without receiving anything themselves. I just feel this massively counterproductive and it's almost alienating a large portion of the reenacting hobby, say for some type of modern day political means, or let's say because somebody's taken some type of an offence to what has been shown that weekend. Anyway, my final thoughts is basically say hopefully after this event, after Severn Valley Railway's event, it is reconsidered. That say history should be told in its fullest. Personally, I will be talking to other groups as a group leader myself and getting their opinions on this, like I've done with GCR, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling to actually to have a productive outcome. I do want to specify again, especially to the reenactors and to people of the community, I know that this can enrage you and can, say, upset you. You do all spend a large portion of money and time on these impressions. I just want to say, don't send any hate, and make sure that any comments you do are constructive. At the end of the day, we want to go forward on the correct footing, I think, and it's and educate, say, the railway stations and the railway, what was it, the railway society on actually what we're there to actually do. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching this video, for getting this far through the video. It'd be much help if you could leave a comment. I want to know your opinions on this. It's keep it constructive at the end of the day and respectful to each other. I know some people can get a little bit get a little bit more heated and stuff like that. But share the video, like this video, comment on this video, share the video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and for Facebook. Thank you for watching this long. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If I get any more updates, I'll make another video. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for Severn Valley Railway, for sticking by and actually supporting the reenactors. From my understanding, I don't think it's you lot that are actually, and the committee that are actually doing any of this. They've made this decision and stuff, but hopefully we can make a positive change from this. Thank you for everybody for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.